The national team training facility sat an hour outside London, all modern glass and steel, with perfectly manicured practice fields stretching in every direction. Riley stood outside the main building, duffel bag slung over her shoulder, staring up at the England crest mounted above the entrance. She'd dreamed about this moment since she was 6 years old, so why did her stomach feel like it was trying to escape through her throat? "You good?" Maya appeared beside her, always able to read Riley's nerves. "You look like you're about to puke." "I'm fine." Riley shifted her bag. "Just processing." "Processing that you're about to spend 3 weeks living with a certain goalkeeper whose saves you've watched approximately 400 times? Riley's head whipped around. "I have not." "Riles, I've known you since we were 12. You're a terrible liar." Maya grinned and grabbed her own bag. "Come on, let's go see who your roommate is. Maybe you'll get lucky." Riley very much doubted the universe was that kind, or that cruel, depending on how you looked at it. The lobby buzzed with activity, players checking in, coaches reviewing schedules, support staff directing traffic. Riley recognized faces from highlight reels and Instagram, national team players, the best of the best, and she was one of them. "Morgan, Santos," a coordinator with a clipboard waved them over. "Welcome. You're in Building C, second floor. Here are your key cards and schedules." Riley took hers, glancing at the room assignment. Room 237, roommate L. Volkov. The world tilted slightly. Maya leaned over, saw the name, and her eyes went wide. Then she started laughing, actually laughing, drawing stares from nearby players. "Oh my God," Maya wheezed. "Oh my God, the universe has a sense of humor." Riley wanted to die, or possibly murder Maya. Both seemed reasonable. "Who'd you get?" she asked, desperate to change focus. Maya checked her card. "Chen, Emma Chen, the keeper from— Oh, that's your backup from Westbridge." She looked delighted. "I got your teammate, you got your— Don't say it— your sworn rival turned possible love interest. I hate you." "No, you don't." Maya squeezed her shoulder. "Look, it's fine. You're both adults. You can handle rooming together for 3 weeks without it being weird." Riley thought about Lex's ice blue eyes, the way her voice had sounded in that hallway, vulnerable and honest, the electricity that sparked every time they touched. Yeah, this was going to be a disaster. Riley approached room 237 like it might explode. Her key card felt slippery in her sweaty palm. Maybe Lex wouldn't be there yet. Maybe she'd have time to mentally prepare, to build up her defenses, to— She opened the door. Lex stood by the window, back to the door, unpacking with the same methodical precision Riley had seen in the locker room that first day. Her platinum blonde hair was down, falling in soft waves past her shoulders. She wore simple black leggings and an oversized gray sweatshirt that somehow made her look taller, more elegant. She turned at the sound of the door. For a moment, neither of them moved, just stared at each other across the small room with its 2 narrow beds, 2 desks, 1 shared bathroom. 3 weeks, in this room, together. "Morgan." Lex's voice was carefully neutral. "Volkov?" Riley managed to step inside, letting the door close behind her. "Guess we're roommates." Apparently. Lex turned back to her unpacking, placing folded shirts in a drawer with geometric precision. "I took the left side. If you prefer it, we can switch." "Right side's fine." Silence fell, thick and awkward. Riley moved to her bed and dropped her duffel, hyper-aware of every sound she made. The zip of her bag seemed deafening. She started unpacking, trying to match Lex's organizational system and failing miserably. "You don't have to fold everything perfectly," Lex said without looking over. "I'm not going to judge your drawer situation." Was that a joke? Riley glanced over. Lex's expression remained neutral, but something in her eyes looked almost amused. "Good, because I'm more of a shove it all in and hope for the best kind of person." "I noticed." Now Lex did look over, one eyebrow raised. "Your locker at Westbridge, after the match. It looked like a tornado hit it." "You looked at my locker?" Lex's cheeks colored faintly, barely noticeable on her pale skin, but there. I may have walked past it, accidentally. The away team locker room is on the opposite side of the building. I got lost. You got lost. It's a confusing stadium. Riley couldn't help it. She smiled, and Lex's mouth twitched in response, fighting its own smile. The tension broke slightly, just slightly. So, Riley said, shoving a t-shirt into her drawer with zero regard for wrinkles, how do you want to handle this, the roommate thing? What do you mean? I mean, Riley gestured vaguely, we're rivals, or we were rivals. Now we're teammates and roommates. We should probably establish some ground rules. Lex considered this, closing her drawer with a soft click. Rules. Okay, such as bathroom schedule, lights out time, whether we're going to acknowledge the weird tension between us or just pretend it doesn't exist. The last part slipped out before Riley could stop it. She watched Lex's expression shift. Surprise, then something guarded, then something that looked almost relief. There's tension? Lex asked quietly. Riley's heart hammered. This felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. You know there is. Lex sat on her bed, facing Riley across the narrow space between them. Less than 6 feet separated them, close enough that Riley could see the exact shade of her eyes, not quite ice blue, more like winter sky. Acknowledging it doesn't make it go away, Lex said. No, but ignoring it doesn't either. They stared at each other. Riley felt her pulse in her throat. I don't know what this is, between us. I'm not good at this. At what? Feelings, people, anything that isn't football. Lex's hands twisted in her lap, the first uncertain gesture Riley had ever seen from her. I'm better with things I can control. Strategy, technique, training regimens. You can't control chemistry. No. Lex's eyes met hers, intense and honest. I can't. Riley's mouth went dry. The room felt smaller, warmer. So what do we do? She asked. I don't know. Lex looked almost helpless, so different from the composed goalkeeper who commanded her penalty backs with absolute authority. But I think we should probably figure it out, because 3 weeks is a long time to spend pretending. Yeah, it is. A knock on the door shattered the moment. Both of them jumped. Mandatory team meeting in 10 minutes, a voice called through the door. Main conference room. We'll be there, Riley called back, her eyes still locked at Lex. They stood simultaneously. The space between them felt charged, dangerous. We should go, Lex said. Yeah. But neither moved. Lex took one step forward, Riley's breath caught. Then Lex grabbed her keycard from the desk and headed for the door, not looking back. Riley exhaled shakily and followed. 3 weeks, sharing a room with this. She was absolutely, completely screwed. The conference room held all 23 players selected for the training camp roster. Riley recognized most of them. Faces from highlight reels, Instagram follows, occasional matches. She slid into a seat near the middle. Maya dropped down beside her, eyes bright with curiosity. So, how'd it go? Fine. Riley Morgan, that is the least convincing fine I've ever heard. Later, Riley muttered, because Lex had just entered the room, and every head turned. Lex Volkov had a presence. Riley had noticed it on the field, but seeing it in a room of elite athletes made it even more apparent. She carried herself like someone who'd never doubted her right to be anywhere. Tall, elegant, controlled. She scanned the room, her gaze landing briefly on Riley before moving on. She took a seat across the room, back straight, hands folded. Okay, she's gorgeous, Maya whispered. Like objectively gorgeous. I see the appeal. Shut up. I'm just saying, if I had to room with someone who looks like that, Maya. Fine. But Maya was grinning. Coach Nakamura entered, followed by several assistant coaches and training staff. He was a compact man in his early 40s, known for his tactical mind and no-nonsense approach. Welcome, he said, and the room fell silent immediately.
U23 represent the best young talent in English women's football. You're here because you've earned it. But earning a spot in this camp doesn't guarantee a spot on the final World Cup roster. He let that sink in. For the next 3 weeks, you'll train harder than you ever have. We'll evaluate every aspect of your game: technique, tactics, fitness, mental strength. His eyes swept the room. And teamwork. I don't care how talented you are individually. If you can't work as a unit, you're useless to me. Riley felt the weight of those words, glanced across the room and found Lex looking at her. Teamwork. Right. You'll notice we've mixed players from rival clubs in room assignments. This is intentional. You need to learn to put club rivalries aside and function as a national team. Some of you will find this easier than others. A few knowing looks passed around the room. Everyone knew about the major club rivalries. Training schedule is posted in your rooms. Breakfast at 6, first session at 7. Questions. Silence. Good. Get settled tonight. Tomorrow we start. As the meeting dispersed, players clustered into small groups. Riley noticed the natural divisions, club teammates gravitating together, cliques forming. She felt someone move up beside her. Looked over. Lex stood there, hands in her sweatshirt pocket. Walk back together? Lex asked quietly. Maya's eyebrows shot up. She mouthed, OMG, behind Lex's back. Riley wanted to sink through the floor. Sure. They left the conference room together, silent among the chatter of other players. The evening air was cool, the training complex lights just starting to come on as dusk settled. That was pointed, Lex said, the roommate comment. Yeah, he knows about the Westbridge-Eastmoor rivalry. Everyone knows. Riley shoved her hands in her jacket pockets. We're kind of famous for it. The last match got a lot of media attention. 2 straight red cards and a last-minute goal will do that. They walked in silence for a moment. I watched it again, the match, your goal. It was perfect. The timing, the jump, the direction. I had no chance of saving it. Riley looked at her, surprised. You're complimenting my goal? I'm stating facts. It was good football. Coming from you, that's basically a love letter. The words hung in the air. Riley immediately wanted to take them back. Lex's lips curved slightly. Is that what you want? A love letter? Riley's heart stopped. What? But Lex was already walking ahead, leaving Riley standing there, mouth open. She jogged to catch up. That's not fair. You can't just say something like that and walk away. Why not? You made the love letter joke. That was an accident. Was it? Lex glanced at her, and those ice blue eyes held something warm, something teasing. Riley had no idea what to do with a playful Lex. It was somehow more dangerous than the cold, controlled goalkeeper she'd faced on the field. You're messing with me, Riley said. Maybe. I didn't know you could do that, mess with people. There's a lot you don't know about me, Morgan. They reached their building, climbed the stairs side by side. The hallway to their room felt shorter than it had that afternoon. Lex unlocked the door, held it open for Riley. Inside, the space felt different now, smaller, more intimate. 2 beds separated by maybe 4 feet. 1 bathroom they'd share, nowhere to hide. Riley dropped onto her bed, suddenly exhausted. This is weird, right? Us, here. Lex sat on her own bed, facing Riley. Very weird. But we're going to try to be, what, friends? I don't know if I can be your friend, Riley. The use of her first name sent a shiver down Riley's spine. Lex rarely used it. Why not? Lex was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. I don't think about friends the way I think about you. The air left Riley's lungs. How do you think about me? She managed. Lex stood, walked to the window, put distance between them. Her reflection showed in the darkening glass. I think about the way you play, how you move on the field, the sound you made when we collided. She paused. I think about you when I shouldn't, when I'm supposed to be focused on training or studying or sleep. Riley's hands gripped her bedspread. Lex, I know it's complicated. We're on the same team now, but we'll go back to being rivals when camp ends. And this thing between us, Lex turned to her. I don't know what it is, but I know it scares me, because I don't get distracted, ever, and you're all I can think about. Riley stood without meaning to, crossed the room without deciding to move. They stood maybe 2 feet apart now. You scare me too, Riley said, because I've never wanted to kiss someone I'm supposed to hate. You hate me? I'm supposed to. You're the enemy keeper who's never lost to my team. And yet I keep thinking about that hallway, about the way your voice sounded when you said you weren't cold, about the way you looked at me in the press conference. Riley took a breath. About the way you looked at me walking past my locker when you definitely weren't lost. Lex's lips quirked. I might have been slightly less lost than I claimed. Yeah, I wanted to see you, away from the cameras and the teams, just you. They were so close now. Riley could see individual eyelashes, could smell something faintly floral, Lex's shampoo, maybe. What do we do about this? Riley asked. I don't know. Nothing? Everything? Lex's control was slipping. Riley could see it in the way her hands trembled slightly. I've never done this before. This? Any of it. I told you, I'm not good with people. I've never dated anyone, never wanted to. I've spent my whole life focused on football and nothing else. And now? Now I'm rooming with someone who makes me want to forget about football entirely. Lex said it like a confession. Do you know how terrifying that is for me? Riley did, actually, because she felt it too, this pull towards something that could derail everything they'd worked for. We could just not, Riley said, even as everything in her screamed otherwise. Keep it professional, focus on training. We could. Neither of them moved. That would be smart, Riley continued. Very smart. Logical. The right choice. Their faces were inches apart now. So why does it feel impossible? Riley whispered. I don't know. Lex's vibrated voice was barely audible. But it does. The knock on the door was like a gunshot. Both of them jumped apart. Dinner in 5, a voice called. Mandatory team meal. Coming, Riley called back, her voice shaky. They stared at each other across the sudden distance. We should go, Lex said. Yeah, but it took another full minute before either of them moved toward the door.
The dining hall was massive, clearly designed to feed multiple teams. Long tables filled the space, and the national team players clustered at several near the windows. Riley grabbed a tray, trying to focus on food selection and not on the fact that Lex stood directly behind her in line, close enough that Riley could feel body heat, close enough that when Lex reached past her for a plate, her arm brushed Riley's shoulder. Sorry, Lex murmured. Riley's skin tingled where they'd touched. No problem. Maya appeared on Riley's other side, looking between them with poorly concealed glee. Hey, roomies, how's cohabitation going? Fine, they said in unison. Maya's grin widened. Uh-huh, sure, totally fine. That's why you both look like you've been running sprints. Riley kicked her under the table they'd moved to. Maya just laughed. Other players joined them. Emma Chen, who was apparently as bubbly as Maya, Priya Sharma, who gave Lex a long, knowing look, and several others whose names Riley struggled to remember through her distraction. So, Emma said brightly, roommate assignments are wild, right? I got Maya, which is awesome because we already know each other, but some people got paired with, like, actual club rivals. Yeah, one of the other players, Sarah, maybe, chimed in. Like, imagine if they'd put a Westbridge player with an Eastmore player. That would be so awkward. Riley and Lex both suddenly became very interested in their food. Maya barely suppressed a snort. Priya's eyes narrowed slightly, glancing between Lex and Riley. Then understanding dawned on her face, and she had to take a long drink of water. You okay, Priya? Lex asked, her voice carefully neutral. Fine, managed Priya, but her eyes were bright with amusement. Just fine, nothing to worry about at all.
Great, so Lex's best friend knew, and Maya knew. This was going to be all over camp by morning if they weren't careful. "How's the room, Lex?" Priya asked, and her tone was pure innocence. "Everything comfortable?" Lex's jaw tightened fractionally. "Perfectly comfortable." "Good, that's good. And you're getting along with your roommate, okay?" "We're managing." "I bet you are." Under the table, Riley felt something brush her foot. She glanced at Lex, who was studiously cutting her chicken, expression giving nothing away. The brush came again, definitely not accidental. Riley's breath caught. Was Lex playing footsie with her during dinner, surrounded by teammates? She pressed back experimentally, watched Lex's hand still on her knife for just a second. So, maybe they were both a little reckless. The conversation flowed around them. Tactics, previous matches, gossip about coaches. Riley contributed when necessary, but most of her awareness centered on the point where her foot connected with Lex's under the table, this small, secret contact that no one else could see. It felt dangerous, thrilling, completely stupid. Maya caught her eye and mouthed, "What are you doing?" Riley subtly shook her head, but she didn't move her foot. "Don't you think, Riley?" someone asked. "Sorry, what?" She forced her attention back to the table. "The training schedule, pretty intense, right?" "Oh, yeah, definitely." She had no idea what they'd actually asked. Lex's foot pressed more firmly against hers. Riley bit the inside of her cheek to keep from reacting. This was a terrible idea. They were surrounded by people. Anyone could notice. And yet, Riley couldn't bring herself to break the contact. Dinner finally ended. Players dispersed toward their rooms or the common areas. Riley and Lex hung back, letting the others leave first. "That was stupid," Lex said quietly when they were alone in the hallway. "Yeah, we can't do things like that." "Probably not." They walked back to their building in charged silence.
Back in their room, the silence felt heavier. Riley changed into sleep clothes in the bathroom, shorts and a tank top, while Lex did the same in the room. When Riley emerged, Lex was already in bed, platinum blonde hair loose around her shoulders, reading something on her tablet. She looked up when Riley entered. Her eyes tracked down Riley's body and back up, quick but unmistakable. Riley felt that look like a physical touch. "Which side of the bed do you sleep on?" Lex asked suddenly. "What?" "When you share a bed with someone, which side do you prefer?" Left, I guess." "Why?" "Just curious." Lex returned her attention to her tablet. "I'm right side." The implication hung in the air. They'd fit together, if they ever... Riley shook her head. Not helpful. She climbed into her own bed, hyper-aware of every sound. The rustle of sheets, Lex turning a page, the quiet hum of the heating system. "You can turn the light off whenever," Lex said. "I can read on the tablet." "I'm not tired yet." "Neither am I." More silence. Riley stared at the ceiling, mind racing. "Can I ask you something?" she said finally. "Sure." "That thing you said before, about never dating anyone, was that... Are you..." Riley struggled for words that wouldn't sound presumptuous. "Gay?" Lex supplied. "Yes, I've known since I was 16, I just never acted on it." "Why not?" "Football came first, always, and I didn't want complications. My parents have expectations, my mother especially. The Volkov family doesn't do scandal. We don't make waves. We excel quietly and perfectly." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." Lex shifted to face Riley across the space between beds. "What about you?" "I don't know. I dated a couple guys in secondary school. It was fine. Not great, just fine. I thought maybe I hadn't met the right person." Riley turned her head on the pillow to meet Lex's eyes. "Then I crashed into you on a football field and couldn't stop thinking about it." "When you say couldn't stop thinking about it, I mean I went home and couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the feeling of landing on you, the way you looked at me, how you smelled like citrus and something else I couldn't identify." "Mint," Lex said softly. "My body wash." "Right, mint.
Riley's mouth felt dry. I thought I was losing my mind. You weren't. I couldn't sleep either. They stared at each other across the darkness. The beds felt both too far apart and dangerously close. This is a bad idea. Us. Whatever this is. I know. We'll be rivals again in 3 weeks. I know. And if anyone finds out, it could complicate everything. Team dynamics, media attention, all of it. I know. Lex's voice was steady. So what do you want to do? Riley considered lying, playing it safe, but something about the darkness and Lex's honesty made her brave. I want to stop pretending I don't feel this. And then what? I don't know. Maybe we just see what happens, carefully, quietly, secretly. Would that bother you, being a secret? Lex was quiet for a long moment. 3 weeks ago, the answer would have been yes, I don't like hiding. But right now, with you, I'd rather have you secretly than not have you at all. Riley's heart did something complicated in her chest. Lex, we should sleep, Lex interrupted, her voice suddenly formal again. Training starts early. Right, yeah, but neither of them moved to turn off their bedside lamps. Good night, Riley. Good night, Lex. The lights went off. Darkness filled the room. Riley lay awake for what felt like hours, listening to Lex's breathing even out to sleep. Her mind spun with possibilities and dangers and the phantom feeling of ice-blue eyes watching her. This was going to be the longest 3 weeks of her life.
Riley's alarm went off at 5:30. She slapped it silent and immediately regretted consciousness. Across the room, Lex was already awake, sitting up in bed, hair perfectly mussed, looking unfairly beautiful for someone who'd just woken up. "Morning," Lex said, her voice rough with sleep. That voice did things to Riley that were absolutely not appropriate for 5:30 in the morning. "Morning," Riley managed. "Shower schedule," Lex said. "We should establish one." "Right, you can go first." "You sure?" "Yeah, I need a minute to convince my body it's actually time to be awake." Lex grabbed her toiletries and disappeared into the bathroom. Riley heard the water start and immediately tried very hard not to think about Lex in the shower, naked, water running over pale skin. She failed miserably. By the time Lex emerged, hair damp, skin flushed from hot water, wearing training gear, Riley's brain had completely short-circuited. "Bathroom's yours," Lex said, oblivious to Riley's crisis. "Thanks," Riley squeaked and fled. The shower helped. Cold water helped more. By the time she was dressed and ready, she felt almost human. They walked to breakfast together in comfortable silence. The dining hall was already full. Apparently, elite athletes were all early risers. Maya waved them over to a table where she sat with Emma and a few others. "Morning, roomies. How'd you sleep?" "Fine," Riley said. At the same time, Lex said, "Well enough." Priya appeared with her breakfast tray. "Mind if I join?" "Of course," Lex said. Priya sat directly across from Lex, her expression carefully neutral, but Riley saw the way her eyes danced with questions. Breakfast was almost peaceful. Then Coach Nakamura stood up at the front of the dining hall. "Morning, everyone. Quick announcement before training. We'll be doing some team-building exercises this week in addition to regular practice. Today, you'll be paired up for one-on-one drill work." He consulted his tablet. "Pairings are posted by the door. Check them before you head to the field." A collective groan went up. One-on-one drills were brutal. Players crowded around the posted list. Riley squeezed through, scanning for her name. Morgan, R, FWD, paired with Volkov, A, GK. Of course the universe would do this. She felt Lex appear beside her, saw the exact moment Lex spotted their pairing. "Well," Lex said quietly, "this will be interesting." That's one word for it. Maya appeared on Riley's other side, looked at the list, and started laughing. "Oh, the football gods are having fun with you two." "Not helping, Maya." "I'm not trying to help. I'm enjoying the drama." The practice field was pristine, perfectly cut grass, professional goals, state-of-the-art equipment. Riley had trained on good fields before, but this was different. This was the national team. "Strikers and keepers, pair up," the assistant coach called. "1 hour of intensive one-on-one work. I want to see creativity, technique, and mental strength. Keepers, make them work for every shot. Strikers, break them down." Riley grabbed a ball and headed toward the goal where Lex was stretching. Several other players watched with interest. Everyone knew about the Westbridge-Eastmoor rivalry. "Ready?" Riley called. Lex pulled on her gloves with practiced efficiency. "Always." They fell into the drill naturally. Riley approached from different angles, testing Lex's positioning. Lex read her movements, cutting down angles, making herself big. It felt like their match, but more intimate. No teammates, no crowd, just the two of them, locked in their private battle. "You're favoring your right side," Lex observed after the 5th shot. "You're cheating toward my strong foot. It's called smart goalkeeping." Riley grinned. "Then I'll have to be smarter." She took the next shot with her left foot. Lex dove, but the ball slipped past her fingertips into the side netting. Goal. Riley couldn't help celebrating. A small fist pump, nothing excessive. But when she turned back, Lex was smiling. Actually smiling, eyes bright with competitive joy. "Better," Lex said. "Just better?" "Fine. Good. That was good." They continued. The drill was supposed to be technical practice, but it evolved into something else. A conversation conducted in shots and saves, in the split-second decisions that defined their positions. Riley learned to read Lex's micro-movements. Lex adapted to Riley's fakes. They were so focused on each other that they didn't notice they'd drawn an audience. "That's some chemistry," someone muttered. "Right? They're like perfectly matched. Shame they play for rival clubs. They'd make a hell of a striker-keeper combo." Coach Nakamura watched from the sideline, arms crossed, expression thoughtful. An hour passed too quickly. When the whistle blew, both Riley and Lex were sweating, breathing hard, exhilarated. "Good work," Lex said, pulling off her gloves. "You too. Those saves were insane. Your footwork is better than I realized." "Is that another compliment from the ice wall?" Lex stepped closer, voice low enough that only Riley could hear. "I told you, I'm not ice. Not with you." Riley's breath caught. They stood on a professional training field, surrounded by teammates and coaches, and yet the air between them felt charged, private. "Water break," a coach called. The spell broke. They separated, heading toward their respective groups, but Riley felt Lex's eyes on her back as she walked away. The rest of training was tactical work, set pieces, game scenarios, team cohesion exercises. Riley ended up on a small-sided team with Maya, Emma, and several others. Lex was in goal for the opposing team, which meant Riley spent 2 hours trying to score on her. Every goal she managed felt like a victory. Every save Lex made felt like a challenge. They pushed each other relentlessly, neither giving an inch. "Jesus," Maya panted during a water break. "You two are intense, like more intense than usual." "Just good football," Riley said. "Uh-huh, sure. That's why you've been staring at her for 5 straight minutes." Riley forced herself to look away from where Lex stood with the other keepers, hair escaping her ponytail, face flushed, looking unfairly attractive for someone who'd been training for 6 hours. "I hate you," Riley muttered. "No, you don't. You love me. I'm the only one who knows about your massive crush and hasn't told everyone. It's not a crush." "Right. What would you call it?" Riley didn't have an answer for that. Training finally ended around 4. Players trudged back toward their rooms, exhausted and sore. Riley and Lex walked together, maintaining careful distance, but somehow still gravitating toward each other. "You played well today," Lex said. "So did you. That save in the second half, the one where you tipped it over the bar, that was ridiculous." "It was necessary. Your shot was perfect." They reached their building, climbed the stairs side by side.
Inside their room, they moved around each other with surprising ease for two people who'd only shared the space for a day. Riley grabbed shower things. Lex collapsed on her bed. "I'm going to be so sore tomorrow," Lex groaned. "Same. Worth it, though." "Yeah." Lex turned her head to look at Riley. "It was fun, playing with you instead of against you. We're still competing for World Cup spots, remember?" "I know, but it felt different today, like we were pushing each other instead of trying to destroy each other." Riley considered that. Maybe that's what teammates do. Maybe. Riley showered, letting hot water ease her muscles. When she emerged, Lex had changed into comfortable clothes and was sprawled on her bed with her tablet again. "Dinner's in an hour," Lex said. "Wanna just relax until then?" God, yes. Riley dropped onto her own bed. For a while, they existed in comfortable silence. Riley scrolled her phone. Lex read whatever she was reading. The room felt peaceful. "Can I tell you something?" Lex said suddenly. "Sure." "I've never had this ease with someone. I don't know how to do it." "Do what?" "Be close to someone, want to be close to someone. My whole life has been about maintaining distance, control, not letting anyone in." Lex stared at the ceiling. "And then you crashed into me on a football field and somehow got past all of it. I didn't mean to." "I know, that's what makes it terrifying." Lex turned to face her. "I don't know what I'm doing, Riley. I don't know how to be with someone. What if I'm terrible at it?" Riley's chest ached. She wanted to close the distance between their beds, wanted to hold Lex and promise it would be okay, but they were still navigating this fragile thing between them. "I don't think you could be terrible at anything you actually tried to do well. You're too much of a perfectionist." Lex's lips quirked. "You say that like it's a good thing." "It is, when it matters." "Does this matter?" "Yeah." Riley met her eyes across the space between them. "It does." Lex's expression softened into something vulnerable and hopeful. "To me, too." They stared at each other, the room charged with possibility. "We should probably go to dinner," Lex said, but she didn't move. "Probably." Neither of them stood up. The moment stretched. Riley felt like she was standing on the edge of something, teetering, about to fall. Then Lex's phone alarm went off, a reminder for dinner. Reality crashed back in. They got up, got ready, headed downstairs, but something had shifted. Some invisible line had been crossed. Riley was falling, had been falling since that first collision, and she was pretty sure Lex was falling too. Dinner was louder than the night before. Players more comfortable with each other, jokes flowing freely, laughter echoing through the dining hall. Riley and Lex ended up at opposite ends of a long table, separated by teammates and conversations. But Riley felt constantly aware of where Lex was, what she was doing, who she was talking to. At one point, their eyes met across the crowded table. Lex's expression was soft, intimate, meant only for Riley. Then someone asked Lex a question and the moment passed. After dinner, some players headed to the common room to watch a match replay. Others disappeared to their rooms. Riley found herself pulled into a group watching film, even though all she wanted was to go back to the room and keep talking to Lex. Lex appeared in the doorway of the common room an hour later. "Mind if I join?" Several people made room on the couches. Lex ended up sitting next to Riley, not touching, but close. Their thighs didn't quite press together, but Riley felt the heat of Lex's body beside her. The match played on the screen. Riley tried to pay attention to tactics and player movement, but mostly she was aware of Lex's presence, the way she leaned forward during interesting plays, the small sounds she made when she disagreed with a goalkeeper's decision. At some point, Lex's hand landed on the couch cushion between them. Riley's was already there. Their pinkies touched. Neither of them moved. The smallest point of contact, hidden by the darkness and the distraction of the screen. But to Riley, it felt monumental. The match ended. Players dispersed. Riley and Lex walked back to their room, hands carefully by their sides now. Inside, Lex went to the bathroom first. Riley changed into sleep clothes, mind spinning. When Lex emerged, they went through their nighttime routine with the efficiency of people who'd known each other far longer than 2 days. Lights off, beds occupied, darkness falling. "Riley?" Lex's voice came through the dark. "Yeah? Thank you." "For what?" "For making this less scary." Riley's throat tightened. "You make it less scary too." Silence, then, "Good night." "Good night, Lex." Riley lay awake long after Lex's breathing evened out. Tomorrow would bring more training, more team building, more navigating this impossible situation. But tonight, in the darkness of their shared room, Riley let herself imagine possibility, let herself hope. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt like something worth reaching for.
Riley woke suddenly, disoriented. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the digital clock, 2:47 a.m. She heard movement, turned her head. Lex was awake, sitting up in bed, silhouetted against the window. "Hey," Riley whispered. "You okay?" Lex startled slightly. "Sorry, did I wake you?" "No, I just couldn't sleep, I guess." Riley sat up too. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, just thinking." "About?" Lex was quiet for a long moment. "About how much everything's changed in 2 days. About how I came here focused entirely on making the World Cup team, and now all I can think about is you." Riley's heart hammered. "Is that a bad thing?" "I don't know. Maybe. Probably." Lex turned to face her. "But I can't seem to make myself care." The vulnerability in her voice undid something in Riley's chest. "Come here," Riley said before she could think better of it. "What?" "Just come here, please." Lex hesitated. Then she stood, crossed the space between their beds, and sat on the edge of Riley's mattress. They were close now, so close that Riley could see Lex's expression in the dim light from the window. "I don't know what I'm doing," Lex whispered. "Neither do I. This could mess everything up. Our teams, our careers, our—" Riley reached up, cupped Lex's face with one hand. Lex's words died. "Or," Riley said softly, "it could be the best thing that's ever happened to either of us." Lex's eyes searched hers. "You really believe that?" "I think I might." They stayed frozen like that. Riley's hand on Lex's face, Lex perched on the edge of the bed, both of them barely breathing. "I want to kiss you," Lex said. "I've wanted to since that hallway after our match, maybe even since you crashed into me on the field." "So why don't you?" "Because once I do, I won't be able to pretend this isn't happening. I won't be able to go back to just being rivals or teammates or whatever we're supposed to be." "Maybe we're not supposed to be anything," Riley said. "Maybe we just get to choose what we are." Lex's hand came up to cover Riley's where it rested against her cheek. "And what do you choose?" "This. You. Whatever this becomes." "That's terrifying." "I know." Lex leaned in slowly, giving Riley every opportunity to pull back. Riley didn't move. Their lips met softly, tentatively, a question and an answer all at once. The kiss was gentle at first, testing, learning. Then Lex's hand slid into Riley's hair, and Riley's free hand found Lex's waist, and suddenly gentle wasn't enough. The kiss deepened. Lex made a small sound in the back of her throat that sent electricity down Riley's spine. Riley pulled her closer, and Lex came willingly, shifting until she was properly on the bed, pressed against Riley. They kissed like they played football, intense, focused, each trying to figure out what made the other react. Riley learned that Lex's breath caught when Riley's teeth grazed her bottom lip. Lex discovered that Riley melted when fingers traced the back of her neck. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lex rested her forehead against Riley's. "We're in so much trouble," Lex whispered. "Yeah," Riley laughed softly. "We really are. I should go back to my bed." "Probably." Neither of them moved. "Just a little longer," Lex asked. "Okay."
They stayed like that, wrapped around each other in Riley's narrow bed, neither willing to break the contact they'd finally allowed themselves. Eventually, Lex did slide back to her own bed. They whispered goodnight again, pretended they were going to sleep. But Riley lay awake, lips still tingling, heart racing, knowing that everything had changed. Tomorrow would bring complications, questions, risks, but tonight had brought Lex's kiss, and that felt worth everything.